Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson. I'm just sitting here thinking about, we got a special My World recording. We got a special treat, and it all started from that phone call, Conrad. Yep, it was a Tuesday, and this all came into very, very clear. I was signing some of your favorite, this may be your favorite figurine of all time. I know it is, but this beautiful box. But Conrad, this is 100 of 100. This is yours.
Oh, the very last one. I love it. That's really cool. Go grab yours right now at prowrestlingmerch.com. Of course.
Can you see the sticker, Conrad?
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool package, a really cool box, the first ever offering of any sort of merch of this kind for the Last Outlaw. So there's never been a Jeff Jarrett Last Outlaw action figure.
Look,
now you've got one.
I'm messing with you.
No, but I'm just saying, prowrestlingmerch.com. Go grab one before it's too late. They're all hand signed and numbered. That's pretty cool.
We did us an old TikTok live. The Queen, her and her TikTok, she did a TikTok live as I was signing some. So anyway, I was thinking, Conrad, back to how this entire episode got started. And it was you. Yes, my friend. I was flying to San Antonio, and we're texting back and forth on the way to the airport. You were like, now, Jeff, who's filming this for you? Who do you have? And I said, nobody. You mean you didn't call Robert? No, Conrad. Oh, come on. And Connie, you got it all started. So you get all the blame. I'll take the credit if it's good, but you get all the blame.
Well, I just thought it was a really cool story. You know, I know you don't consider yourself a quote unquote celebrity, and you've been around the business enough. I mean, hell, your dad, bought George Jones's house. So you've been around that thing for a long time. But all I can think about is, boy, wouldn't it be cool if your dad had done a documentary like this, documenting the first time that he ran a show in his hometown. I know how much my friend Jeff would cherish that footage. And I think it's something that your kids and your fans and your extended family and your grandkids that aren't even here yet, they would appreciate one day. So I'm glad you, against your better judgment, opened up that wallet and made this happen, because what we've got is something really, really cool. I'm excited for folks to see it. I mean, and this is really the story of Jeff Jarrett. I'll have to admit, when I first started podcasting with Bruce Pritchard, anytime we brought up Jeff's name, I referred to him as the human fast forward button, because I just hated that guy. I just hated him so much. I did not want to see him on TV. I didn't want to buy a ticket to see him. I mean, I don't want to conversate with him. I do not like Jeff Jarrett. Then I got to meet Jeff Jarrett in real life, and I was like, man, this guy's awesome. I wish we lived closer. And that's when it was like, oh, wait a minute. Here I am walking around thinking I'm smart to the business, or I'm a smart mark or whatever. Nope, I was a regular rank and file dumbass. Jeff Jarrett had done his job. He made me hate him. He was a hateable heel. But the real person, well, that's a different story. And, I've seen business Jeff and I've seen wrestling Jeff, but the world by and large has never seen human Jeff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I thought you were going to throw in red ass Jeff, because you and Mr. Silva, who's sitting behind the ones and twos today, y'all like that version best, maybe. But
well, when you get heated, when you get real hot, and this is a real peek behind the curtain, Jeff has learned that when he gets real hot, sometimes I'll just be quiet and just let him finish. And that somehow makes him even madder, because he wants me to be mad. And when I'm not, then cooler heads prevail. And here we go.
That's spot on. But yeah.
But real life Jeff is a heck of a guy. And you have almost like a dual life. Like, you live a bit of a double life, where there's a lot of things you do in your real life that we don't talk about here on the show, because it's not related to wrestling. It's not related to wrestling podcasting. It's not related to any real form of entertainment. It's just the way you live your life. And I thought the idea that we could sort of document almost like a day in the life would be really fascinating, because you're a creature of habit. You're a routine person. You do well with structure, and you've done it in a way that's, I don't know, mapped out human life in a way that I don't think I know a lot of other people who've done it. And I just think you're an interesting dude. So I'm glad that we got to document some of this.
Yeah, it turned out fun. The guys, that just so many different people involved, and I just earlier today I was on the phone with the guy who's an integral part of Pigfest, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm excited," and all the guys here at the shop. He runs a big machine shop. Actually, it's yeah. Anyway, there's probably 60 or 70. He said we've all kind of been chatting about it, and we're excited to see it. We've seen the TikTok clips and the Instagram clips and all that, and he just said, "Hey, I got to tell you, Jeff," he said, don't really want to say this, but you've all kind of give us a little bit of a cry, man. That show meant a lot to you. And I said, I had no idea how much it ended up meaning to me. It didn't start out that way at all. But as we sit here today, it was very, very special. It really was. And I think I don't think I know. It's because of kind of the lineage of my dad and my grandmother, and the passing of my dad, and just he's the one that came out to Hendersonville in 72 and really put his roots down and got really engaged in the community in so many different ways. And I think when I really reflect on it, Conrad, he thought enough of this hometown, and man, it has exploded in growth, but he thought enough of this hometown. His whole reason was, son, don't run a show in your hometown. You can't please everybody. You're going to make somebody mad. And so he kind of looked at it, these are my home folks. And I do look at it that way, whether it's Kroger or Publix or church or Walgreens or the gym or the drive-through or Waffle House or whatever it is. I can just see the different faces that I'm thinking about right now. It is home. And so getting to do, and look, it wasn't any, wrestling show. It was a part of our biggest nonprofit of the year, Pigfest, and the money that they raise is just kind of mind blowing, and where it came from. So all that kind of layered together made me go, yep, I'll do it. And that was almost as a business response, knowing that, okay, I'm kind of crossing a line here personally, but Dad would approve of it. I certainly approve of it. I'll do my best to put a good card together. And then it just, one thing led to another, and Cody was involved, and Jason James is the promoter, and Robert Peake was the shooter, and Kevin Sullivan ended up, he didn't, okay, so now he's going to post produce and edit, and we've worked together, and all of us have worked together so many times. I mean, it was just, Conrad, I say that, it came out of that phone call that you started, and just kind of layer upon layer upon layer. And the kids were out there. It just turned out, and the people in the crowd, it's like, Conrad, I don't even know how to really relate this, but I've gone to many shows over the 40 years. But when you really personally know, oh God, Conrad, I don't know a percentage, but a lot of folks at one single show, it just brings on a whole new meaning. So it was cool. Definitely.
I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's airing in CW Nashville tonight at 9:00 Central. And we will also be airing it on YouTube right here at myworldpod.com. So if you haven't already, go hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, because we're going to watch it live here on YouTube at myworldpod.com tonight at 9:00 Central, 10:00 Eastern, and immediately following, we'll be live. You'll have a chance to ask Jeff questions, and yes, we're going to talk about all the news of the day. You're probably wondering, hey, where's the Elimination Chamber chatter? It's going to happen tonight live on YouTube, and Jeff will be there to answer any questions. We may even have some clips from the cutting room floor. We are going to show a clip, and then we've got a guest. We almost never have guests here on My World, but we're going to do that shortly. But first, I bet, Jeff, not too far out of reach from you, with your left hand, if you were to scour your desk, you may run across a circle about yay big for Ultra. Do you got Ultra handy? I know every time I've been to your place, Ultra is there. It's a regular part of your routine these days, is it not?
It is. And you know what? The Queen literally came up here before I ate. I cannot wait to tell her this. She came up here because I said, hey, will you go? We've had some workers at the house anyway. And I said, go get everything turned on. I can't be late. Silva will be pissed off. Guess what she came back down the steps with?
The Ultra.
She did. The Queen has it.
Hey, listen, I got to tell you, I think if you are a person who needs their caffeine in the morning, you need that jolt of energy, whether you're reaching for a soda or you're reaching for another pouch, or maybe you're reaching for coffee. Can I recommend Ultra Pouches? It's been a game changer for Jeff and Karen and everybody who's tried it. First off, I want you to know these pouches are completely nicotine free. They're even caffeine free. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey, man, if there's no nicotine and there's no caffeine, what is exactly in them? It's a great question. Ultra has partnered with leading neuroscientists to design these pouches. They're clinically proven nootropics and adaptogens to deliver immediate focus and smooth energy that lasts an hour or two. They've got all these great ingredients, including B6 and B12 and alpha GPC, L-theanine, Xfinity PX. Whatever you're looking for, it's here. And most importantly, it's going to sharpen your mind. It's going to lift your energy without the caffeine, without the nicotine, without the crash. You're going to see them everywhere because they're blowing up so much that even the Queen is stealing Jeff's. You're going to love this because here's the reality. Nicotine pouches and caffeine will spike your resting heart rate at night. That's going to kill your body and your brain's ability to recover. You're not going to get that truly restful sleep. With Ultra, that won't happen. You'll have better sleep. And here's why. Ultra pouches have a shorter half-life than caffeine, so they're not going to disrupt your sleep. Nicotine disrupts your hormone balance. It potentially even leads to lower testosterone. And maybe if pre-workouts make you feel overstimulated, I recommend you try Ultra. Could be perfect. It's going to give you that calm, steady flow state. 90% of users see some significant improvements in their overall focus levels. So if you're looking for smooth energy, a mood balance, enhanced memory, that calm, steady flow state focus, all done with zero nicotine and zero caffeine, and you want a product that's trusted by top athletes and entrepreneurs and engineers, you got to do what Double J and the Queen are doing. You got to hook up with Ultra. Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch, delivering instant focus and mental clarity, again, without nicotine or caffeine. New customers can use the code MyWorld to get 15% off at takeultra.com. That's takeultra.com for 15% off with the code MyWorld. After you purchase, they're going to ask you how you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. And Jeff, I thought it would make sense since we are going to be talking about independent wrestling. Maybe we should show a little bit of a clip from the documentary. And I think this is Tony Khan's right-hand man. I guess his Bruce Pritchard, if you will. QT Marshall. You and I know him as the successful owner, operator, and entrepreneur of One Fall Wrestling. And he was interviewed about independent wrestling. Let's take a look.
Man, this is incredible. To be a part of something like this, I mean, Jeff Jarrett, world-traveled, Hall of Famer, and to the idea that he's never wrestled in his hometown. And to be on this event, to be wrestling against Jeff Jarrett. I mean, I wrestled Jeff Jarrett at AEW, which was incredibly special to me, but to be trusted with this, because he didn't have a choice in that matter, I challenged him. Here, you know, we spoke about it, and to me, it's a huge honor to be here, and it's amazing to bring, you know, I'm all about independent wrestling and all about bringing families to know what wrestling is and come see it. You know, once you get the bug, you're hooked, and I think that's what we're going to do tonight.
I love that we're talking a little bit about independent wrestling, and I figured, hey, why not show that clip before we bring in an independent wrestling promoter himself? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. A great friend of Jeff and mine, Mr. Jason James. Jason, how are you, man?
Hey, guys. Doing good. How are you?
All
man,
right.
Thanks for making time for us and jumping on, man. This is awesome. Thanks for coming in.
No, yeah. Thank you guys for the opportunity. Excited to be here and honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, chat me up, Jason. Tell me, you know, how you first met Jeff and what your, you know, prior history with Jeff was before this fateful weekend last October.
Well, hold on. Let me dive in here, Jason, just a little bit, Conrad. And look, we're you usually do this, but Jason, before you met me, who was your riding buddy? Because Conrad, I think you're going to enjoy this. But Jason broke into the business, and his first mentor was
the wild-eyed Southern boy, Tracy Smothers. Yeah, I at a very early age, I broke in 15 years old, and then found myself at 16 years old with a fresh driver's license and on the road with Tracy Smothers during my summer break in high school. And that was my first, my first mentor and my first road partner for sure.
If you miss Tracy Smothers doing Southern Independence, where he would take 20 minutes before he would ever lock up or anything, and everyone would be reminded, if anybody else says so and so, everybody dies. I mean, you had to be there. Just unbelievable. Especially his spelling of thug. I love that there is a Tracy Smothers component of all this.
Yeah.
So chat me up. You break in with Tracy, and you were at least a wrestling fan, so you were familiar with Jeff Jarrett. Tell us about the character Jeff and the real life Jeff that you met.
Okay, yeah. I started early, like I said, 15 years old, and then when I was 18, I actually got the opportunity to start work for TNA Wrestling. It was a one-off, and what I thought was a one-off, an odd job. I got a job to set up the ring at Pac-Man Jones's house in Franklin, Tennessee, because he was beginning his in-ring training and his on-character, on-screen role with TNA Wrestling at the time. So that was my first gig was that, and I kept hounding the production guy over and over, and finally he put me on the ring truck. Did a couple house shows in Canada when TNA really got into the thick of doing live events, and I was 18 years old at the time. Had a semester off before I was going to start college, and got the opportunity with TNA, and kind of gave college the old boot, and yeah, I was living my dream at 18 years old. I always loved the wrestling business. I wanted to be involved somehow, some way. I did a lot of different wore a lot of different hats as the years progressed, and just 18 years old. I can go to college to try to get here, or right now I've got an opportunity to go out with TNA Wrestling. It was the number 2 company in the world at that time, arguably, and just kind of made sense. The words of Don West, it was a no-brainer.
I love that. I had no idea that there was a TNA component. I guess that makes sense. So Jeff, when you're first asked by the Parks Commission there in Hendersonville, hey, why don't you come do something at Pigfest? Why don't you wrestle? Why was Jason the first guy you called?
Oh, it's very, very simple. And Jason's independent wrestling company is Pro Wrestling Entertainment, Pro Wrestling Inc. It's Cody Angle's the current champion, but that's another story. But no, all kidding aside, Jason is going to be humble. But he came on board at TNA, and I forgot about the Pac-Man Jones, but he literally became the ring crew. But then, more importantly, in my eyes, the merch crew, and Don West was out there blowing and going and sweating his ass off and all this. But Jason really sat under the Don West learning tree in so many ways, and really learned, the marketing and the packaging and the skills like that. So he's very, very early days of TNA. We've talked about it often, but a lot of the guys in TNA learned to wear a lot of hats, and Jason had zero problem wearing multiple hats. And so since that time, like both of us ebbed and flow in our TNA careers, but Global Force, Jason was a huge part of the production side of it, the ring and advanced towns and all that kind of stuff. And so he's always been, I call it, kind of my go-to guy. And when the Pigfest, Andy Gillies and the city thought about me, I just immediately I said, all right, let me call Jason. Let me bounce this off, because every Music City Bowl that we've done for 7 or 8, 9 years, those shows out there, when COVID hit, we had to go from 1 ring to 2 rings and split the teams. And so I've always relied on Jason on a number of things, whether it's he can ring it out, he can sell merch, he can set up the ring, he can do ticketing system. He can run. He's a full 360 independent professional wrestling promoter, and he does everything, not just good. He does it really, really good. He does it great. And so, Connie, he's your kind of guy because he can wear a bunch of hats. He obviously right now is at the marina, in case you can tell that in the back. So he's a boating guy as well. But no, he's my man. He's obviously part of my crew and has been for years. And so he was literally my first call.
How's that make you feel, Jason, all these years later to hear that, hey, you were the first call when Jeff was going to be working his hometown? That's got to be quite the compliment.
If you would have told 10-year-old me, 12-year-old me, 15-year-old me, hey, yeah, you're going to be somebody that Jeff Jarrett can rely on and pick up the phone and know that you can answer the call, I'd have told you you're crazy. But then again, that just it kind of what's the old statement? Attitude reflects leadership, and it kind of just credits Jeff on what kind of leader he actually is, and the passion that he has for what he does, and the business of pro wrestling and just everything is super infectious. And just being around him makes you want to up your game, because you know where the bar is set, you know where the standard is, and you better meet the standard.
I like that. A little mutual appreciation society here.
Hey, Conrad, real quick. Jason's seen Red Ass Jeff multiple times.
I'm sure.
I'm kidding.
Just a couple times. Just a few.
Red Ass Jeff is
and deservedly so most times. Deservedly so, I'll say that.
No.
Well, we're excited that folks get a chance to see the documentary. Of course, you were there that night, Jason, and you have, been in Jeff's orbit for over 20 years. When you just think about the totality of his career and the personal, peaks and valleys that he and his family have enjoyed, I'm sure it had to be kind of special for you to be there that night in October as well, right?
Being part of it from a production standpoint and being part of the show is one thing, but also being part of it and seeing the whole journey unfold and witnessing it as a wrestling fan, a totally different perspective. And then again, being, I hope I can say it, being a friend of Jeff and witnessing it, that as Jeff's friend, it's something that I think is going to be very unique, and the story behind it, man, it's great.
When you think about, the real life Jeff and the performer Jeff, what do you think folks who are listening to this, who are just familiar with Jeff as an on-screen wrestling character, maybe they listen to the podcast, what do you think those people would be most surprised to learn about Jeff?
Probably that he is one of the most genuine, good-hearted, ultimately just good-hearted people. It's not like a pack mentality, so to speak, but if you've got Jeff's back and you do right by Jeff, that Jeff will do right by you. And I guess the loyalty I'd say is, man, like you mentioned earlier, like, hearing Jeff say, Jason's the guy to call, without a question, when, I got the opportunity, first one to think, just hearing that is makes me feel good, because loyalty is something that I think a lot of people want to pride themselves on in not just the wrestling business, but life in general. But it's also a quality that is too, it's rare. It's very rare to see the type of loyalty that Jeff has showed me and so many people around him that have in turn been loyal to him. And I would think that would be the biggest shocker, is just for people to know that Jeff Jarrett, the guy, he's a leader, he's a mentor, he's a father figure of sorts, and yeah, he looks after you. He cares. That's it. He genuinely cares.
Well said, Jason. I appreciate you jumping on with us. Tell everybody how they can keep up with what you and your independent promotion have going on if they want to, take a listen or check out a show or just support you and your promotion.
Absolutely appreciate it. We're Pro Wrestling Entertainment based out of Nashville. We run all over the southern part of the United States. ProWrestlingENT.com is where you can check us out. We're on Facebook and stuff. Twitter, all that at Pro Wrestling ENT as well. ProWrestlingTix.com for any of our future events coming up if you'd like to grab tickets. And yeah, we appreciate the support, and look for the Last Outlaw on a future show. Hopefully I can cash in a little favor and get him on an event soon.
Do you think it's possible that we're ever going to see, because what we've been looking for is a promoter with balls. And what we're looking for is the golden dream match that everyone in Middle Tennessee is talking about. You know
what? I've been trying to book it for years. Tony Falk versus Jeff Jarrett in his retirement match, but Jeff just won't sign on the dotted line. So
I like where that's going. But once upon a time down in Orlando, it had the dirt sheets talking and had the internet wrestling community talking. Angle versus Jarrett. I mean, what about Cody Angle putting up the Pro Wrestling Championship on the line against one of his two dads, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, the last outlaw versus Cody Angle? Sign me up. I think that could be fun.
Jason ain't got enough cash to step in the ring for that one.
Not at all, because I cannot afford Cody's price tag. And Conrad, if we ever did do that, I would give you the book, because I'm not going to go to either one of them and tell them they're doing the job. So,
yeah, I think there'll be a lot of interference from the Queen on that one. Jason, we appreciate your
hopefully.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Well, of course, we're all here talking about Jeff's fabulous documentary. It comes out tonight on CW Nashville, and I think we've got a clip right now about Andy Gillies. Andy is the guy who put together Pigfest and originally asked Jeff to wrestle. A longtime friend of Jeff's, and I didn't realize it, but I'm 1 degree separated from Andy for the last 15 years, and we got to meet at Jeff's show. So let's take a clip from Andy, and we'll be right back.
When I brought it to him, I never knew that his dad and grandmother had said that. So I did not know that was kind of a thing. We're not going to work at home. Home is home, business is business on the road. We don't want to make people mad. It's hard. It is hard when you do events to just not be making people mad, However, I thought to myself, you know what? There are people in this town that love this family and love Jeff. And if there ever was a chance to do it, we need to do it while we had the chance. So I'm glad that whatever clicked in his head to say, yeah, this is going to be cool. Let's go all in. Let's do this. I'm glad that happened.
Hey, listen up. If it feels like you're fighting for your life on the toilet, we got the fiber cleanup hack to bring nothing but net energy. I'm talking about the Tushy Bidet. I'm a big believer in this product. Long before they were a sponsor here, I had them on every toilet at my house. Jeff has been using them at my house forever and ever. Tushy brings luxurious comfort to our most common bathroom issues, gut to butt to bowl. This is an inside-out approach to bathroom health. Fiber gummies that support regularity, and luxury e-bidets that clean you at least twice as good as toilet paper. Your mornings could look like this: 2 gummies that taste like candy with as much prebiotic fiber as a stalk of broccoli, plus instantly warm water. It's never going to run cold. 99% of people who wash with Tushy warm water e-bidets feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. Who feels cleaner and fresher after the bathroom? Tushy users, that's who. Tushy e-bidets instantly modernize your daily routine and bathroom. You get a heated seat, come on. You get adjustable water temperature. You can get it just right. And a powerful yet gentle dryer. That's right, you heard me, dryer. You can go hands-free in the bathroom. Every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet, so there's no need for additional plumbing. E-bidets only require an outlet. That's it. But this is really daily decadence that comes with practical benefits. Over half of the people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids, and 9 out of 10 people reduce itching and discomfort. Now, how do they do this? Well, because instead of wiping endlessly with toilet paper, Tushy pristinely removes 99% of bacteria while protecting your natural skin barrier. And how do they do this? One natural ingredient: fresh water. That's it. Installation is a breeze, folks. It's just about 10 minutes. Literally anyone can do it. If you haven't already, I challenge you to try it. And they're putting their money where their mouth is. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return. You even get a 12-month warranty. You're going to absolutely love it. Make going to the bathroom the most comfortable thing you do all day. Right now, for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code MyWorld at checkout. That's 10% off your first order at hellotushy.com. Just use the promo code MyWorld. Now we want to welcome into the show another member of Jeff's inner circle who made magic happen in October. A big part of what you're going to see in the documentary tonight on CW or tonight here on YouTube at myworldpod.com was shot by this man, welcome him into the program, Mr. Robert Peake. Robert, how are you, man?
Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Oh,
Man, fantastic. Look at you with your fancy background. I love it.
excellent. Thank you for joining us, Robert. Man, you do look nice and studious, and you don't look like you're out on the road shooting content, Conrad. It looks like we're talking to our accountant down there.
Dude, he's got it dialed in. I would expect nothing less. I'm excited to catch up with you. I don't think a lot of our listeners, Jeff, probably know all the different facets of pro wrestling that Mr. Peake has been in and around. And I know you've known him for quite a while. Chat me up about Robert.
You know, at the end of the day, I've been around this a long time, and we just had Jason on, and you know, there comes a skill set, but also kind of a passion. But you know, there's, you know, as a promoter, you wear hats, and you really got to have a grind. Robert, you know, when you get behind a piece of equipment and you're capturing, and Conrad, we talk about it often on this podcast, and I'm like to wave this flag all the time, that it's all about emotion. You know, the old BKM chairman used to talk about the money's in the face and all that kind of stuff. Well, to really capture the emotion, you have to have somebody with a high skill level that knows how to capture that, because in today's, especially in modern professional wrestling, with everything flying so many different ways, or, you know, I always like to bring in my basketball analogy. Larry Bird thought 2 and 3 plays ahead. They say the one thing that set Wayne Gretzky apart from every hockey player that ever played is that he literally was way out in front of everybody, thinking 2 and 3 and 4 shots above, just being there. Well, Robert has that skill set in professional wrestling. You have to know and anticipate where you're going to capture that magical shot. And when you don't really have any idea on how to do that, and that's kind of the live action. If I take a step back up, Robert met me, you know, early that morning when I landed, and he had a vision in his mind. You know, I knew kind of the day of what I had to do, work out a little Waffle House, get some things ready around the house. I knew Jay Lethal. We could go on and on through that day, and that stuff was captured. But Robert is a guy that, and I'll let you speak to his resume, because my God, it's deep. But Robert, good friend. But for today's my world, I want to thank him and congratulate him, and just in a lot of ways, hell, I honor him, because you don't run across shooters that know how to capture footage like Robert does very often. And he is, I can't say enough about his talent, and it is a true talent.
I totally concur. Robert's been the man for a long time behind the scenes, but Robert, you've kind of been clandestine. Not a lot of people know what all you've been involved with, but I know that you've worked with DDP. I know that you've worked with AEW. I know you've done some stuff with AAA. You've done some stuff with Manny Pacquiao. You've done some stuff with Jeff Jarrett. You've kind of done it all in the last several years, have you not?
It's been a wild couple of years. And first, I want to thank you both for not only saying all of that about my career, but just giving me the opportunity to be here with you today. It has been just a hurricane of things ever since the very beginning of AEW. A group of us were involved in kind of the production of Road 2. And just from that moment at the beginning of 2019, it's been nonstop. It feels like this is a rare opportunity where I'm able to be home and just kind of relax and reset and recalibrate. But yeah, I've been very lucky to do a lot of things with very skilled people who are willing to collaborate and open themselves up to the camera and trust themselves with the process of what it is to create something.
Well, I'm glad that you were attached to this project. I've always loved your work and admired your approach to things, but I did want to ask, and we can have fun with this because Lord knows I do every week. I've been pretty open about the fact that I absolutely freaking hated Jeff Jarrett until I met him. I hated the character that I saw online. So you obviously were a wrestling fan, or you wouldn't be pursuing this particular niche. Were you a Jeff Jarrett fan growing up, or were you like me and you absolutely hated Jeff Jarrett?
So I had a brief run with wrestling, and then I had to step away because my childhood best friend, Nathan Mowry, and I would watch different episodes together. He was a big Hardy Boys fan. And I made the mistake one night, and I think we were like 8 or 9, of cheering for Rey Mysterio. And immediately after I cheered for him, he was sent out on a stretcher. He was severely injured, and my friend didn't let me watch wrestling with him for a little while. So I had to take a break. When I really became aware of Jeff, because I'd seen his performances and I'd seen stuff on the shows, but I really heard about him more from people who knew him in the business. And so my impression of him was shaped by people like Sanjay Dutt. It was shaped by many different people who'd worked with him, who talked highly of his work. And so when I came in, I was excited to work with him because I'd heard of all the kind of different things behind the scenes that us production people talk about that he'd been able to be involved in.
So as you were hanging out with Jeff that day and really spending the better part of the day in the car with him, running errands with him, at the house with him, and then of course, it's show day. You're going to spend a lot of time at the building. Of course, this was an outdoor show, but what was the thing that really stuck with you the most? Like when you think back several months ago to October, in your mind's eye, what's the first thing you remember about working with Jeff that you think maybe not a core memory, but it'll be your lasting impression of that day?
A good documentary shoot and a good portrait of somebody is kind of an active listening experiment. You're kind of going into it. You have a general plan, but you have to kind of listen to someone, and it's a dialogue in the sense that you propose ideas, you present them, you also listen to kind of instinctively where someone's going. And the thing that's going to stick with me is how genuine and how sincere Jeff was as a person. Like we just talked about life. He asked me questions about how my fiance was doing as she's kind of completing her certification for Rolfing massage in Colorado. We had a lot of genuine conversations and moments, and there were a lot of opportunities to just kind of pause and breathe and allow an experience to just kind of happen naturally, which you don't often get at live events.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of people who grew up thinking they knew Jeff because of what they saw on TV, they don't really have the context of who Jeff is now. And to say that he has an interesting household, I think, is an understatement. What was your experience like at Casa de Jarrett?
We had a blast. I don't, you'll see in some of the footage, Jay Lethal playing video games with his son, and his son cut a couple of promos for me, which was fun. My favorite part of the night actually was when his son had time to kind of get in the zone. He came up to me very seriously and he said, "I'm ready." And so we set up the lights and he cut his promo, and I was like, he's a professional already. He was so committed to doing it right. And when I did B-roll, he wanted to make sure that I got the right angle. And I loved working with him in particular. We had so much fun over the course of the day.
Conrad, does this just, we can stop right now. We can't stop.
It won't get any better than that. I mean, Cody is now a part of the directing business.
Yeah, I didn't even know that Cody's now directing Robert and getting the shots ready and all this. It's not about the daughters. It's not about Karen. Nope.
Well, he was like, because I think early in the day he had looked at me and or I'd said something like, "If you want to cut a promo, you can." And so he took that to heart and he prepared and he got ready. And when he was ready, it was on, man. It was awesome.
That's beautiful. That really is. That warms my heart. And for you as a human to dive into that, Robert, that's super cool. God almighty.
It was an interesting story, to say the least. The idea that a guy who had wrestled thousands of matches literally all over the world, but never won in his hometown, was there, when you think about what your original vision for this was, and then what the final product was, how close or how far off was it? Or were there any interesting pivots that you didn't see coming?
When you do a documentary portrait on somebody, you do as much preparation as you can, you do as much planning, and then you allow the experience to be what it is. And it's active listening. It's kind of like I'm preparing to have a conversation, and I can prepare as much for myself, what I'm going to say, what I think I might reply with, but I have to wait until I'm in that moment to have that dialogue, to have that conversation, to really know what the full form is. So every documentary I've done, in this one, being one that I collaborated with Kevin Sullivan on, Sully will kind of talk to me about his vision from an editing perspective. I'll kind of meet him at that, and we'll kind of decide together what makes sense, what I can focus on with my resources. And then day of, I take that conversation, I take that preparation, those thoughts that we've had about what the essential core of the story is, and then I go into it and let it happen. And I try to stay as attuned and aware to all of the different things that are happening. And I kind of allow what I'm seeing in Jeff and what I'm seeing in the people around him to steer the ship.
That's very cool. That's deep. So, Conrad, I don't know how I'm almost listening with a teachable ear, just kind of, Robert, this is really good shit. I mean, for me, it is. It's really cool to kind of get in. I knew, obviously you're talented and had a vision and all that, but this all came down so quickly. And when Conrad first kind of twisted my arm, it was going to be you. And then I'll say this, and Conrad, maybe you can pick a question out of that. But when we found out that, oh man, Pigfest has another shooter coming on, and then, oh wait, we may have a third camera. Wait, there may be a drone. Robert, maybe I'll ask you, what was your thoughts when you knew that, okay, we're kind of going from a one camera shoot and we may have some additional footage? What went through your mind, the process? Because that was, it was a last minute kind of addition or a bit of information that was added on your plate. How'd you take that?
Working in wrestling as long as I have now, that's every day, right? You show up and the plan's going to change because someone may not have been able to arrive on time. Maybe someone extra showed up and they're volunteering to help. And so you kind of step onto every set with the awareness that anything could change at any moment. And so your responsibility as the shooter is to capture as much of the core of what you need for the story as possible. And then everything else is a positive accessory that you can delegate additional responsibilities to allow you to focus on other things. So we were really fortunate to have our extra shooters who were able to cover some of the action, which freed me up to, rather than bouncing back and forth between background coverage or backstage coverage and action, I was able to allow them to focus on the action and get into the kind of more intimate interviews that we were able to do with your wife, your daughters, and just kind of everyone we had backstage.
So, Robert, tell me how, because I appreciate that you have such a business-like professional approach to this. Wrestling is its own unique subculture. I mean, it's a niche within a niche within a niche at times. And you've probably shot a lot of other non-wrestling stuff. What particular challenges or nuances are unique to wrestling compared to shooting almost anything else?
There's so much you could say about that. I think the first thing that comes to mind is, in the world of wrestling, everyone is their own chef and you're trying to collaborate with them on their dishes, essentially. So you've got your performer, you've got a producer, you've got a writer, you've got all these different personalities that have intent for what the final product is. These characters are sometimes helping write themselves. And your challenge there is, rather than having one clear, concise view, you have all of these different views and you have to find whatever the connective tissue is between those perspectives and bring them together. And that challenge is much more rewarding. It can be more difficult than some other sets, but in my experience, there's no rush like it when you can run in and you have a limited amount of time to really interpret a character, interpret a situation. And by the way, it's live by 8 p.m. It brings something out in you that's just so much fun.
I for one appreciate your approach and the way you shoot things and the way you present things. And I'm really excited that you were involved in this particular project. Jeff, hypothetically, are you ready to announce something new that we're going to be asking Robert to shoot? Because you and I have been working on some ideas. We've had some ideas in the hopper for a while, and now would be a good time if you just want to lower the boom.
No, I'm going to let you tee that up, partner, because Robert's sitting down. It seems like he's in a nice, quiet place. So he's either going to tell you to F off or
Well, the last time I had one of these harebrained ideas, you nearly killed an extended family member of mine in a parking lot. So maybe I'll keep some of these to myself. Robert, I can't thank you enough for all the time, man. I'm excited for folks to see it. It's going to debut tonight on CW Nashville, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll be airing it at the exact same time right here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell. myworldpod.com. The doc will debut tonight at 9 Central, 10 Eastern here on YouTube. And Jeff and I will be live immediately afterwards taking your questions. Yes, we'll be talking about Elimination Chamber and everything else. But I can't thank you enough for the time today, Robert. This was tremendous. Tell everybody who's maybe trying to keep up with what you're doing next. Do you have some social handles we could share with everybody or a website?
Yeah, of course. Much of my public work and current ongoing work appears on Instagram right now under Robert Peake Film. And there's some upcoming projects that I'll announce through there. And then you'll continue to see stuff on TNA Wrestling and wherever else I pop up.
Right on, brother. Robert, I cannot thank you enough, not only for October, but being the human being you are, my man. You are super talented, but an even better person. Appreciate you, my man.
Thank you so much. It was a huge honor, guys. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. And we want to keep the conversation going. We're going to show another clip from Jeff's new documentary that airs tonight on CW Nashville and right here on YouTube. Let's take a look.
When I had to really stop and process it, the thought process is because as a promoter, you figure out, hey, what town can we run? What venue? It's all these, in a lot of ways, the promoter going to the venue or the city or whatever it may be. In this situation, when the city came to me, in a lot of ways, maybe it gave me the excuse that I could say, hey, Dad, I didn't go looking for it. It found me. But it's a very humbling situation that Andy Gillies, who I've known for years, City Parks Director, he just said, hey, man, let's make this year the biggest and the best Pigfest we can and raise the most money we can. I'm hearing numbers of over six figures that we're going to be raising this weekend. So I think Dad would be very happy with that call.
My goodness. Can't wait for you guys to see that. And you're going to love how Jeff Jarrett looks in those jeans. Okay, not really, but serious business. Jeff wears the perfect jean everywhere he goes. If you see him making an appearance, maybe he's at a convention, maybe he's on camera for AEW, maybe he's hosting a pre-show, maybe he's throwing out a baseball that shoes baseball. These are like his action karate pants. I'm talking about the perfect jean. I mean, realistically, we got to get Orange Cassidy a pair of these because I know for a fact these are better than the jeans that Orange Cassidy's wearing. And I'm talking to you, all of our thick kings out there. If you got thick thighs, buddy, the perfect jean is going to fit you perfectly. I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying to yourself, I've never found jeans that fit me perfectly. Well, you weren't looking in the right places. The perfect jean is as comfortable as sweatpants, but still iconic and stylish. This is like a go-to for guys who know. Listen, most of us feel like, I wish I could, fly through the airport and jump on these different planes in sweatpants. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to look like a schlub. What if you could look sharp but still be as comfortable? The perfect jean. That's what you need to do. I can't recommend these enough. They're a fraction of the really fancy jeans that you may see, but these actually fit you right. This is maybe not only the best feeling jean and most comfortable jean, but maybe the best value at just $79.99. And there's a lot of us who have weird body types, right? You go to the store, you try on 10 pairs, none of them fit right. That's never going to be the case with the perfect jean. Seriously, if you're training for wrestling or powerlifting or CrossFit, or maybe you never skip leg day, you know how tough it can be. Well, it's not the case with the perfect jean. Just try it. I'm telling you, especially with March Madness around the corner, you're probably going to become a couch potato. Lounge around in these jeans. They can survive nachos and wings and beer. And how about this? They'll work for St. Patrick's Day. They'll look good for dinner. They'll look comfortable around the house too. The perfect jean is truly perfect. Want to recommend it. It's soft, confidence boosting, stretchy perfection. There's over 5,000 ways to find your perfect fit too, with waists from 26 to 52. You've also got links from 26 to 38. I can't recommend it enough. Go check it out for yourself. And let me just tell you this, from a social proof standpoint, over 500,000 dudes have already made the switch. Thousands of athletes, pro wrestlers, power lifters, CrossFitters, Everybody is donating their entire jean collection once they try one pair. Eric Bischoff's obsessed, and you will be too. There's over 35,000 five-star reviews, and everybody says the same thing: as comfortable as sweatpants. And one wrestler even said, first jeans that fit my thighs and my waist. How about that? Our listeners can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc, or just Google The Perfect Jean and use the promo code Jarrett15 for 15% off. That's The Perfect Jean, and the code is JARRETT15 for 15% off. So Jeff, we're just hours away from the big debut tonight. You know, you've been working on this. I was a thorn in your ass for a while trying to convince you to do it. Finally, you acquiesce, you open up the checkbook, you dust the cobwebs off that son of a gun, and now we've got it. Tonight, CW Nashville, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, but also right here on YouTube, and Jeff and I will be live immediately following it. I'm fired up for this. I hope you guys will make plans to join us. And yes, we're going to be talking about WWE financials, and yes, we'll talk about Elimination Chamber. As a matter of fact, you can ask Jeff anything you want to hear. We'll even have some never before seen clips that will air tonight. So hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Are you going to be hosting a viewing party? Are you going to have the girls over and everybody? Maybe you'll bring your stepmom, Deborah, over, and maybe Miss Karen can be cooking. Y'all can play some Elvis greatest hits and just get everybody in the mood for some Middle Tennessee celebration.
Shake, rattle, and roll is what you're looking
for.
But, you know, Conrad, sitting there chuckling, and I didn't want to bust up your read there. It's so good. But I was just sitting here thinking, whenever that was, about a month ago, and we're going through kind of the planning stages of all this, and you're like, hey, that doc's on the 3rd. That's a Tuesday. Why don't we do a special episode, kind of I think a companion piece? This episode will kind of match right up. And then I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. But I said, me and Conrad, we need to have some guests on here. And when I started rolling out, okay, first guy I called, kind of the live event promoter, and then the shooter, and thinking that through. And I just, as I'm sitting here, I really am. I love those guys. I'm very, very grateful that they've agreed to come on and did come on and all that. But I was thinking to myself, you can kind of tell the difference. Jason is, if you're at a marina in February, then you're our kind of guy. But no, he's a promoter and all that. And let's just say he wasn't as polished. And then you get a shooter who's thinking about audio and thinking about framing the shot and clear audio and clear picture. And my man Robert was all pristine and looking. I just thought that's the difference in the two guys. But man, they are very, very, very talented guys in their own right. But Conrad, our third and final guest, I'll let you do the introduction, but you know, there's only a few streaks in professional wrestling that I think are worthy to even have a discussion, like, you know, to be a streak being broken. But the guy that we're about to bring on, I think we're 30 years into the career, and we're about to, so it's not like a small streak that we're breaking here, but Connie, our third and final guest, is kind of the third piece of the puzzle this doc. So I'll kick it back to you and let you take it from here.
Well, you know what? I think it would be better if you rolled out the introduction, because you know more of his history than anybody. And I think,
okay,
if I'm honest with you, the way anybody has ever described this guy, but Lord bless him, he was born to a name that in any other genre would be very easy. But whenever you say his name now, you have to give a clarification. And unfortunately, the clarification is not always the best one. You say, almost in parentheses as you describe it, now, not the devil.
Yeah.
And if you have to give a disclaimer when you're describing, imagine if we were saying that about Double J. So my buddy Jeff Jarrett, now he's not the devil. I mean, it's like, wow, you're really setting the stage here. And then you meet him and you're like, man, what a sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah, that's
definitely cool. Not the devil. Tell everybody who not the devil is, Jeff.
Okay, that's well said. Or not the one that wrestles. Or now we can affectionately say, not the one that's passed away. Obviously, this is the one still living. But I say that to say this guy, he has worked from anybody from Fox Sports to NBC to TNA to AEW, large and in charge through the years, executive produce a lot of freaking shows with myself, more than anybody, Ring Ka King, TNA, we could go on and on, but he got his illustrious career. I was one of the pillars of it. Conrad, you probably don't know this, but you remember the big Super Soaker squirt guns that WWF advertised back in the day, Attitude Era?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This gentleman was the lead producer of a spot. I think Road Dogg was a part of it, me and a few others. But anyhow, enough kidding around. I kid around with this guy because, man, I'll tell you this, Conrad, you know, just imagine this guy with the ball cap on straight with the bill out. That's happy-go-lucky. But if the ball cap gets turned around back and it's go time, buddy, here comes the bull in the china shop. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the man that we have broke the streak, his very first time in my entire knowing this guy, he's actually going to be seen on camera, high def, 1080, my man, my buddy, and the executive producer of Heart of a Promoter, the Jeff Jarrett Story, my friend, Kevin Sullivan.
Hey, how are you guys? Do I get one of those little cool red windows? I've been sitting here futzing with my camera for the last 10 minutes, and I still feel crooked in frame. So
it's perfect, man. You look great. Look at you, my man. That's all good. So.
Super Soakers, that was Tampa Bay, and it was actually it was Kip. We shot with Kip, and we shot with you, and we shot with the Mean Street Posse, and Deborah was part of those. And I believe there was one more, but we did a series of 4 of them.
Was it not Road Dogg? Or
he might have done one, just not on that loop.
I got you.
Hey, but you were close to one half of the New Age Outlaws. You were close. We were rounding up. So, you know, Kevin, we had some fun with your name, of course. Anytime I've ever had a conversation with someone about you, they always go, so Kevin Sullivan, and it's almost like there's a pause, not the devil, and then they continue. And I actually have you in my phone as I had the other Kevin Sullivan, as Kevin Sullivan Devil, and then yours is Kevin Sullivan TV, because you've kind of become, for wrestling fans, almost like a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. We hear your name, but we've never laid eyes on you, and we appreciate you actually jumping on My World and breaking the streak, the decades-long streak of ever being interviewed or speaking about wrestling. And it makes me think it's got to be a pretty special relationship for you to come out from behind the curtain for the first time. That says a lot about your relationship with Jeff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, let's have some fun. I think 2 quick stories. When I was 12 years old, I purchased a book, and I'm flipping through it. It was a wrestling book, of course, and I still have it somewhere upstairs. And sure enough, I get to Kevin Sullivan from Boston, Massachusetts. And, you know, I've been watching wrestling since I was 7 years old at this point. And I guess that's when it was meant to be. And I never met Kevin Sullivan, believe it or not, out of all of, everywhere I worked and all my, different, you go here, you go there. And going back to getting started in wrestling, it was November 16th, 1998. I have no idea why I remember that date. It was in Lexington, Kentucky. I packed up 2 duffel bags, got on an airplane, went to Lexington, and it was, got there on a Sunday night, went to Raw the next day, and I'm sitting there having lunch and catering by myself, table of 8 people, and who sits next to me? Owen Hart. And I thought it was a little bit, I didn't know any of the stories and, how he, ribs people and this and that. I wasn't, kind of in all the backstage stuff then. And, I just thought it was weird. This guy's sitting right next to me. There's all these open tables, and we had a half-hour conversation. Maybe I walked away and I had a note or a sticker on my back that said, kick me in the butt or something. But it was a really, one of those kind of memories that you cherish. It was the one thing I kind of remember. I've looked it up before, and I the main event or who wrestled that night, but that was my one takeaway from my very first day working at WWF at the time. So,
wow, very cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
You know what's funny too? When you look that card up all these years later, look at some of the names that were a part of that card.
Huge.
Way back when, November 16th, 1998. So you got Bradshaw and Farouk, the young Hardy Boys, Tiger Ali Singh, Al Snow, Scott Taylor, who Jeff works with these days. The New Age Outlaws are here. Golga, that's the former John Tenta Earthquake. The Insane Clown Posse is actually on this show. Val Venus, Mark Henry, Goldust, Steve Blackman, Jeff Jarrett, the Blue Blazer. This is the Blue Blazer era. I mean, you just go on and on. But the main event that night was Steve Austin wrestling the world champion, The Rock, and we're going to get a little DQ when the Undertaker and Mankind come out. I mean, think about that. It's just, that's your first foray into wrestling, Jeff. Like, on some level, respectfully, it almost feels like it's got to be all downhill from there, right? My gosh.
Funny.
Let's not look at it that way, but yeah, I mean, right in the middle of it. Yeah. And that's, you know, to be there, to really understand it. It's before it went public. But man, oh man, it was the wild, wild west. I know, as a talent and travel, a lot of grind going on, but Kevin can probably speak to the production, because where were we at, Kevin, in our SmackDown? How long had SmackDown been on the air? A year? No, I don't even know.
No, it hadn't. It
Wasn't
hadn't,
even yet.
yeah, it hadn't started yet. So
Okay,
and
so go ahead.
no, it's funny you bring up production, because, you know, I was working at Fox Sports and then Fox Sports Net, and we would sit around in our little bullpen in the on-air marketing department, and we'd sit there on Tuesday and talk about Raw every Tuesday. And it was like, you know, the stuff from the, you know, DX entrance video where they're cutting back and forth, all this kind of cutting edge stuff and these cliffhangers. And it's like, you know, I compared it at the time, and my wife would slap me on the back of the head, but it was like watching ER. At the end of ER and at the end of Raw, there was always something that was going to bring you back next week, where it's like, wow, you know, your mind kind of explodes and you're like, all right, let's go. And it was just, you know, maybe social media changed that. Maybe there's not as many cliffhangers, you know, today as there was back then. But it was those were the two things I remember vividly, in the sense of you know, really being attracted. I had an interview with CNN. I had a job offer from CNN to move to Atlanta, and 2 weeks later, I sent a VHS tape to WWF and was lucky enough to fly to Connecticut and got a job offer. And it, you know, I don't know if that happens today. It's a different world, you know.
Wow. Hey, and Conrad, just real quick, because he referenced his wife, so I'll get to throw it in there. Addie, been with, God bless her, been with that man a long time. But what's cool is they met. She is in, you know, she now is in the corporate world, Vanderbilt University and all this, but she worked at WWE, WWF at the time. So she knows the production game. So when I think about Kevin and, you know, when you go to his house, he's got his studio and it's top of notch. It's, I mean, you're walking into edit one that's off the chain. It's unbelievable. But like, his wife is very aware of the coming and the going and what he's doing here. So I've always thought, as a couple, and they were always regulars at the Casa de Jarrett pool parties, Conrad. But no, I always thought just a cool relationship, because, you know, in the infancy of their relationship, they were, you know, WWFers and played on the softball team with Howard Finkel. But no, that's how they started dating at WWF.
What a cool story. I love to hear that. So Kevin, you go way back with Jeff, and I know that in the post WWE life, you actually worked with him a long time in TNA. Tell us some fun Jeff Jarrett, the boss stories from TNA. There's got to be some fun, embarrassing stories he doesn't want us to know about.
Yeah, probably a few. You know what? I remember one time, and you know, we went up to Jeff's house, and it was, you know, probably a Thursday or something like that. And I remember going out on his pontoon boat, and we went and we had dinner, which, you know, half hour away, for however long that takes. And it was cool. It was just the production guys. And it was, you know, kind of those moments where you kind of have an opportunity to, you know, have a beer, to speak your mind, kind of, maybe speak out of turn, and just, you know, throw things on the table. I think there was like a collaborative spirit. We would do it in our studio as well, where, you know, everybody kind of had a voice, and it was encouraged to voice your opinion. And I think, you know, you watch the evolution. One thing that I'm super proud of what we did at TNA, you know, I started a month before we went live on Spike TV, and, you know, kind of seeing how we progressed from a Saturday night to a 2-hour show to a Thursday. And, you know, you kind of keep every Friday we would be out with the staff, and we would go to the same place called Jackson's. And, you know, there might be 4 of us, or there might be 14 of us. And it was always kind of waiting for that number. And it's, you know, I remember being disappointed at like 1.7 million or 1.9 million, and you're growth. And it's like, you look back at that run, and, you know, even now I look back back at clips and stuff, and it's just like, wow, man, there was just so many, not only talent that went on to do just amazing things. AJ Styles, obviously, Monday night on Raw, but you look back at the staff and the people that work there, and they've all gone on to be successful, be it at WWE or AEW or even still at TNA. There's a handful of people that I hired that are still there or worked with us going back to 2008, 2009. So it's definitely it's kind of like that lineage. It's you can look back at that and you take a lot of pride in that, I guess is the best way to say it. So
very cool.
Well said. Well, we love you guys shared history. We've had so much fun telling the stories through the years about TNA, but one of the things that I always love to do is try to put people on the spot. I did it with Robert a few minutes ago. I'm going to ask you now, what do you think? A lot of people who listen to this, they only know wrestling Jeff. They know the Jeff that they've seen on interviews or heard on the podcast or certainly whatever they've seen on their television screen, but they don't know real life Jeff. And you've gotten to know real life Jeff through the years.
Oh boy.
What's something that most people would be surprised to learn about real life Jeff that's different from maybe what you assume their perception of him would be as a television character?
I think Jeff does an amazing job of looking out for people, and it doesn't matter if it's somebody in wrestling or if he's doing charity work around the holidays or if it's the Pigfest where the documentary was shot. It's always he's always looking out for others, and I've always appreciated that. Jeff has been a champion of my career throughout the last 10, 15, 20 years, however long it's been. It's 2026, my God, 26 years probably. And you need that. You need people to kind of help you climb that ladder. I think when you don't have that especially in a corporate structure or a company, and somebody's not sitting there you collaborating and trying to challenge you and to make you better, not only as a person but in your work, it's you have to inspire. Jeff does a great job at inspiring people and building teams, and I think I've always taken that, for better or worse. I think I learned a lot over the years, especially over the last 20 years, especially over the last 10 years. I think we grow and we get more experience on how to deal with situations and people and so on and so forth. And your perspective changes as well, and your lens, you look at things differently. And that's for me kind of seeing things. We both of us probably see, or not probably, we do see things totally different than we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah, I'm sure our goals are different as well. And so, just being able to grow and I think that would be it.
Wow. Conrad, you weren't supposed to be asking these guys. We're here to talk about the doc, but
Okay.
I appreciate that, Sally. As to get down to the heart of the motor, heart of the matter, heart of the motor. You came up with that. I almost wanted to start there because I was thinking earlier today, and I knew we got the pod coming up, and Jason James, and I Conrad, I even forgot to get him to tell you the Tracy Smothers story because TNA offered Jason a full-time story, and he went to Tracy, and Tracy said, "You idiot, you better freaking take it. Jarrett will kick my ass if I don't." Anyway, it's a funny story. But I was going back to, Kev, as you were talking through your history and, our early days at TNA, and then how we evolved and just everything through that. But then, okay, so it's a Tuesday. I call you, "Hey man, Robert, Conrad wants me to get Robert. I think it's a pretty good idea." And you're like, "Yeah, you idiot. You should have thought of this beforehand." But we kind of went back and forth. When you first heard Jeff, first time in Hendersonville, whatever it was said about this doc, walk us through, because I kind of know it, but like, where did Heart of a Promoter come from? The title of it. Where did you go? Where did your mind go when you knew Robert's on board? Conrad wants to do a documentary, and I've signed up to meet him at the airport, and we're going to shoot the whole day. Where'd your brain go?
For me, at least, and this goes back to the way that I kind of approach any of these projects that I work on, over the past 10 years. And it's in its most simplistic form in wrestling. And I think what really helps projects like this hit different, and I've said this a million times, it's real questions and real answers. And when you give somebody the opportunity to express their emotion about a moment or a memory or what lies ahead, and they have the ability to project that, and you're able to take that and then craft it into a story, that's what we did. For me, I knew the lineage of what this meant to you. So I always start for myself. I start with a cold open. I like to set the table, and I like to write an open. So that will dictate to me where we're going to go next, if that's the best way to say it. Then, and it's funny because I pulled it up, I've got about 6 pages of questions here. And for me, I think a lot of people might go into these things kind of blind, and they just kind of let it happen. Now, I think when you can, you've said it, I've said it, the 6 P's: proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Putting this on paper just gives you a little bit of clarity. Now, it's whether it's a crutch or a map, it's not the perfect, it's a tool in a toolbox. And ultimately, it's like throughout, as this day progresses, here you pull up in your car, you know where you're going to go, you know what your beats are. And it's not like there was a plan to sit down with your trainer at the gym per se and ask him 5 questions, but those are the nuances that just make these things better. And as you kind of progress throughout the day, it's whether it was talent or the kids or Karen or Conrad, so on and so forth. It's Andy. He had some great bites. That's what collectively kind of makes this what it was. And then when we sat down with all this great footage, it's not like we set out to edit a 10-minute piece or a 15-minute piece. It kind of landed where it landed. And when I took a step back and saw what we had, I kind of wanted to challenge myself. Can I get this all done in a day? And it probably ended up taking about 25 hours of editing, and we added like a little recap package at the end. But I wanted to do kind of a proof of concept for myself. I think most people will sit down and they'll cut a recap package in 3 minutes, and boom, here you go. And I just think, for me and kind of the business that I'm in now, I wanted to see if a guy like Robert, who I've worked with a million times, you throw him out into the jungle and he comes back with what he gets, which is absolutely incredible all the time. Now it's like, how fast can you get this into the universe? I don't think in this day and age, in 2026, sitting on something for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, it's you got to strike while the iron's hot, and you got to be topical with it. So my mind started going with this project to other projects like NIL and NCAA college football, or how you could apply it to, just different genres. The music industry, why not follow an artist around and document that? And so, anyways, that's where I kind of took it and kind of tested what we could do with it. And I've actually applied this concept to other clients, and I use it as a sales tool now. So.
Well, we love to hear that. We also love to hear from our sponsors. Blue Chew, guys, you know what time it is. It's time to level up. Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking next level championship belt gold plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the #1 chewable ED brand, but it's also their latest innovation. Yeah, this is not your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the gold standard. It's a 4-in-1 beast that takes 2 ingredients for blood flow to keep that rocket pumping, mixed with apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and body. Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue, and it works in as little as just 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. Elevation without hesitation. If your bed could talk after this, it'd be asking for a break. Make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the promo code MyWorld. That's promo code MyWorld. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Okay, so Kevin, it's just me and you now. Give me some dirt. Give me the best Jeff Jarrett story you got. It can be the Jeff we know and love now, or it can be BS Jeff, but you got to know where the bodies are buried. Give me something.
What are we looking to unbury here? I didn't bring my shovel. I can't. Geez, it's terms
Well,
of
I mean, I
dirt
have it on
and
good authority. He's seen more episodes of Desperate Housewives than he has Sopranos. That's criminal, is it not? I mean, can't we revoke
well,
his man card for that?
I would say it's criminal that he hasn't seen The Sopranos, number one.
Yes.
Number two, the only movie he's ever seen in his life is Smokey and the Bandit. So it's, good for him. I think he's starting to branch out a little bit. And, now is he spending his time watching the right things? I don't know. And I can't answer that. But, Jeff's a busy guy. He's on the road more than anyone I know. And I always joke. I'll say, "Hey, man, you traveled more this week than I'll probably travel all year." So whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, it's yeah. My wife and I take an hour flight to Florida once a year and a couple trips to California. But it's I don't envy the travel schedule. I can sure tell you that. So
Well, we're just tickled that Jeff is still able to be with us. Of course, he's got his hillbilly internet like always in Hendersonville, and
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me? I have
yeah,
no idea what the hell just happened, but leave it to me. Can you hear me, boys?
we can
yes,
hear you, and everybody's going to be able to hear CW Nashville tonight at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. If you're not in the Middle Tennessee area, don't fret. You can see the world premiere tonight right here on YouTube, totally free. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell. That's myworldpod.com. Jeff Jarrett, Double J, will be live immediately after taking your questions. Yes, we'll talk about your elimination chamber, rumor and innuendo, and all the news that's fit to print. But we'll even have some clips that you've never seen before from the documentary. So if you've got follow-up questions, jump on and ask Double J. That happens later tonight at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. Jeff, this is going to be a fun day, man. This is got to be kind of a weird feeling for you, though. I mean, normally people get their flowers when something bad has happened. This is just a really kick-ass Tuesday.
Well, and see, I was, you know what, and I apologize that dropping out, but I feel honored and humbled, but uncomfortable. It goes without saying. Kevin knows that as well as anyone. But and look, I know I dropped out, so I missed that last answer. What I think is very interesting, and I've always tried to really get into the brain of Sully because there's a skill set like Robert has, or like different individuals, Conrad, you have in many different ways. But I think Sully always, when he looked at this project, because at the end of the day, we had to get this to a half hour. Now, we didn't really plan on it. There's 42 minutes. There could have been a 46-minute. We had thought about an hour, but all this kind of stuff. But, there's a Waffle House guy. There's a fan that was at Pigfest. We're going to see different clips. But, Kevin, I'd love to hear, but also Conrad to hear, and our listeners to hear, when you have to get a show to time, and it's not the easiest to do, what is almost your checklist or priority list? How do you arrive at that? Because tonight afterwards, like on the live YouTube, we're going to show some of that. But I'd love to kind of walk the folks through, because I think that's a very cool aspect of the story behind the story.
I honestly don't overthink it, and I think a lot of people will sit there and kind of debate it in their own mind, or sit with a collectively group of people. And I know you and I were kind of going over the show, and I was sending you my thoughts as I was scrolling through it. But it's to stay true to the story, and it's obviously you don't want to eliminate the meat on the bone. You want to keep the good stuff. And I think when you're obviously in tune with the project that you're working on, and you've watched it numerous times, dozens of times, it's kind of easy to pick those moments out, and you need the story to continue to flow. So we had to, I think, cut out about, I don't know, 8 minutes, 7 minutes and 45 seconds, but we didn't lose the integrity of the message of what we were trying to kind of stay on point with. And it got lucky a little bit, I think, but I mean that also, when we edited a show or did a chronological piece like this, like we've done in the past with certain things, it makes it easier for sure. So
Yeah, I've always kind of found that fascinating. And look, I mean, this is about the documentary, Heart of a Promoter. But I've often, when Conrad will say, chat me up on Main Event Mafia and this and that, and that Vegas shoot we did, or Rinka King, or even, the launch of Global Force and the website and kind of the strategy into that. And, the world doesn't, everybody knows we didn't get a TV deal, but kind of the launch and the numbers we did on hits and the driver you were. Just, maybe it's an entirely different episode because me and you have worked on so many different projects that we could dive in. But on this particular one, I appreciate you, for one, coming on. You broke the streak. For two, but all your work that went into it. And I've always said that, if you're going to be a wrestler, you can't do it for money and you can't do it for fame. Sully certainly has done all kinds of stuff, but his passion, Conrad, and I'm going to kick it back to you, but his passion for diving into a project to me is unparalleled, whether it's a 30-second radio spot. And then this is probably both of us, maybe of our Achilles heel, that if we're going to put out a 30-second radio spot, we treat that equally as important as the premiere episode of an entire series or whatever it may be. But the passion, and that's the thing that I want people to get across, that the people who dove in on this doc, incredibly passionate. And I appreciate your passion, not just for this project, but your passion for your work and to live, really.
Thank you. And I think you guys, as well as anybody, understands the getting people to tune in, whether it's this or a pay-per-view or a live event. And just going back to what you said, it's like, everyone puts this a lot of weight when it comes to these, hey, it's a new launch spot, and it's like all the attention goes to that, and it gets all the attention. But I always took a tremendous amount of pride in doing, 2 live event spots, a week, and if not more than that. I mean, I think at one point we were doing like 1,200, 1,400 live event spots a year. And the team of people that I worked with, it was amazing. Just kind of like somebody gets hurt, somebody leaves. Okay, you got to go in and fix 9 markets, and there's 12 versions per market. And it was just a machine where it would be like, boom, you're going into radio, getting that done. It's coming back over here, changing shots and pushing it down, getting it out the door. And it was just like setting up that. Once again, it's like it all goes back to your team of people that you work with. And it's like, that's what makes it fun. You find that right team. And, people say it all the time, it's not a job, and you wake up excited. It's when I woke up, I remember waking up at 4 a.m. to edit this, and I stopped at 11 o'clock at night and snuck in a couple of workouts. But it was like, you just went and you got it done. And it was just like, when you wake up like excited about something, man, there's nothing better. There really isn't.
Very cool.
Your passion comes through loud and clear. It's our great honor to have you on and talk about the doc. We need to have you on for another long form episode just where we can tell old war stories. But tonight, it's all about the heart of a promoter. It's debuting tonight at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. It's on YouTube here at myworldpod.com, or, of course, CW Nashville. That's tonight at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. Jeff and I will be live immediately afterwards. We hope you guys can join us. If some of our listeners want to keep up with what you're up to, Kevin Sullivan, not the devil, how can they find you?
Kevin Sully TV on X, Twitter. I'm not as active as I used to be, but yeah, I'll see your stuff because I keep up. I like keeping up with everything. I've always taken be it whatever wrestling promotion, WWE, AEW. I'm working with Scott D'Amore now on the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling stuff for the last year plus, and we've got the Ring of Honor and MLP Global Wars coming up in about a month, end of March. And that's been a fun project to kind of see how it's developed, and Scott's passion for that. And it's, once again, I love being in kind of on the ground floor of be it a TNA or a Global Force Wrestling, or helping to launch a Ring Ka King, and all the shows that we've kind of championed, be it a road to or a reaction. It's like you take great pride in all that stuff. And I think Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling has a lot of potential and some good partnerships, and Scott's got it steered in the right direction, and once again, using that, a lot of passionate people putting in a lot of time to make that into something, and we'll see what happens.
Cool. Hey, Sully, what's your LinkedIn page? Because also Sully's work is put on LinkedIn, which I think is always cool too. So we've got business folks that listen.
I kind of put it there more.
That's my point.
Yeah, I know. Good question. I'm clicking on it right now. It is same thing. LinkedIn, Kevin Sully TV. So
That's
same,
it.
same. Yeah.
Well, Kevin Sully TV on LinkedIn, we greatly appreciate you hanging out with us today. It was a great honor to host you after all these years of you being the Wizard of Oz. We finally got to meet Oz. Thank you for all the time today.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome time. We'll do it again for sure.
No, thank
Appreciate
you
it,
very
dude.
much.
Thank you, man.
Thanks,
Jeff,
guys.
we're on a final countdown. I'm really excited for tonight. I know this has been a long time coming. I know you'll be glad when it's over. But are you going to have a viewing party? I mean, here, real deal. Are you going to have the girls over? Is Deborah coming over? I know Cody's going to be glued to the TV. What's on the menu tonight, Jeff? Some of our listeners may not know this, but Jeff's a hell of a cook. And I guess you have to be if you're going to eat as much as this man does. So what's on the menu tonight for the Jeff Jarrett show?
So, Conrad, I've seen this doc a lot of times, but just because of Sully and what we've all talked about. But let me ask you this. When Bama plays Auburn and you and Lair are going to watch the game,
Yep.
how many people do you want by your TV?
You know, that's a great question because there's two answers to this. There could be a whole house full or there can just be Dad and I.
That's what I thought. You know what? All kidding aside, I'm going to get real sappy here, real sincere. There's somebody in my house that cannot wait to watch this, and that's Cody. And so I'm not kidding you. I am so excited to sit down kind of as the father-son, and watch it together. He is, he's a part of it. You heard Robert earlier. That probably meant more to me than Robert even realizes. I'm not kidding you, but he is genuinely, the social clip that went out and everything with it. But and that's what it's about, man. He feels as much as a part of this. So me and Codes and Karen will probably be serving him some snacks, and I'll eat well before the show. But no, we're going to sit down together and watch it.
Let me just tell you, he will knock a hole in some popcorn and milk duds. He's done that at my home theater, so I hope you're stocked up and ready for him. I think that's what people are going to take away most of all. Not just the human component of Jeff Jarrett, the real life guy behind the character, but your relationship with Cody. There's a special spot in heaven for people like you, Double J. And
I'm the lucky one, buddy, and I've told you that 100 times. But I'm excited. What I see on TV, I've already seen it, but I get to watch Cody watch it. That is worth the price of admission.
Hypothetically, is it going to be past his bedtime tonight at 9:30? I mean, is there a chance we could get a Cody run in tonight?
I didn't even hell past his bedtime. I'm the first one to sleep in this house. He's the last one. Yes, great idea.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, maybe we ought to find a way to get the Queen, the King, and the Prince all together on camera tonight. What do you think?
We'll do it. What best thing is I'll put her on the other side of the house. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'm looking forward to it. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell. Enjoy the documentary tonight for free right here on YouTube at myworldpod.com. And hang around immediately after. We're going to be live with the King of the Mountain, the Queen of the Mountain, and Prince Angle right here on My World.
Peace.